Hey guys, good night, morning, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. I greet you with the love of God. So we're going to get into this word, and we're going to go from there, okay? All right, so the Lord has been speaking to me about just the quickening of his spirit, okay? And the quickening of his spirit versus the quickening of his spirit versus anxiousness and stuff. So I know a lot of you guys in this season, you got a lot of decisions to make. Some of you guys have a lot of important quickenings in your spirit, like whether it's God been telling you to move, whether God has told you to reach out to their spouse, whatever God has been telling you to do. I know a lot of you guys have questions about just the timing and when he's telling you to do it, okay? For those who sent me emails on coaching calls and stuff, first of all, thank you guys for entrusting me to speak into your lives. I've seen so many breakthroughs and just God just showing out on these calls. So if you want to book a coaching call, I put everything in the description box so that you can contact me through email. And like I said before, don't be afraid to reach out. I do have some affordable options as well. And God has really been just kind of showing out. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for the Spirit of God entrusted me with this newness, okay? Because this is new to me too as well. Well, it's not really new to me, but it's a different territory for me, okay? So with that being said, I want to get into this word. So the Lord gave me a word. He woke me up at like 3 a.m, y'all. And I'm just like, Lord. And it was good, y'all. This word was so good. It was so worth being woken up, and it's a privilege. Honestly, it's a privilege for God to speak to us. So it's a privilege that I don't ever want to take for granted. So I definitely want to get this word out. And this is kind of more of a teaching, a prophetic teachings, because in the season that we're in, this is very relevant to what God is doing. Like literally, like a lot of us are moving off of the instruction of God. A lot of us are moving off the prophetic instruction of God. So the first things first, a quickening. We're going to talk about quickening versus anxiousness, okay? So a quickening from the Holy Spirit happens in the presence of God, okay? A quickening happens in the presence of God. And he gave the example that he gave me was 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 46. And 46 said, "Then the Lord gave special strength to Elijah. He tucked his cloak into his belt and ran ahead of Ahab's chariot all the way to the entrance of Jezreel." Okay. So prior to Elisha having this direction to run ahead of the thing, what was he doing? Elisha was in prayer. It says Elisha, even the title of this says Elisha prays for rain. So Elisha was praying for rain. So he was in the presence of God when he received this unction, this quickening in his spirit to run ahead of the chariot. Okay. So he was in prayer. It wasn't like he just up and just did it out of nowhere. No, he was in prayer, speaking to the Lord concerning rain. So this was done in the presence of God. Versus anxiousness. Anxiousness is done outside of the presence of God. And what basically the example that God gave to me was Elisha again. And it was Elisha and how he reacted when Jezebel threatened him. Okay. So when Jezebel threatened him, what happens? Okay, right here it says Elisha flees to Sinai, which is like I think a mountain or whatever. Okay, so this is actually chapter 19, exactly what happens versus the quickening of the Holy Spirit happens in the next chapter. We see Elisha flees, okay? And so when Elisha flees, he was not in the presence of God when he fled. He was in the presence of fear, okay? Fear caused Elisha to flee from Jezebel. Because what did Jezebel do? I'm going to read it word for word. She said, "So Jezebel sent the message to Elisha, 'May the God strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you. I have not killed you just as I killed them,'" which was the other prophets that Jezebel killed. Okay. So the same thing happened in chapter 19, right over from 18. So the quickening of the spirit was when the Lord told, when he was speaking to God, and then he ran with the strength of the Lord. Okay. So it says special strength was given to him by the Lord. So this strength was given to him because he was in prayer. So whenever the Lord is quickening your spirit, most of the time it's going to come after you have prayed, even if it's just a short prayer, because sometimes God can give you instructions off the rip. Okay. There's been plenty of times where God has told me, go talk to that person. And I'm like, just minding my business in the store. And he's like, quickening my spirit, go do this like right now. Like, I need you to go talk to that person. That person needs a word from me. And so he'll lead me in doing that. But even then, I'm in prayer because God is speaking to me, and I'm responding back to God, whether it be with action or whether it be with me speaking back to him. So God is saying, go speak to that person. I'm just like, okay, God, got you. So I say, okay, God, got you. That's a conversation. That is prayer. Sometimes prayer is not always going in and casting those. Sometimes prayer is asking God, did I hear you correctly, Lord? Okay, can I pursue? Right. David was praying. When David prayed to pursue, to go get all of his belongings back, he asked the Lord, he said, shall I pursue? And what the Lord say? Yes, you shall. Go take what's yours. Okay. And that is what God is saying. A quickening comes out of prayer. Prayer, then quickening. Prayer, that's the exact order. The exact order is prayer, then quickening. And remember, prayer doesn't always look like going into warfare, right? Sometimes prayer is simply just praying and talking to God, like, God, can you confirm this for me? Or God, you want me to do this? Okay, bet, got you. Okay. And then, so the next stanza is, no, my thingy. Okay. So the next one is, a quickening is Holy Spirit induced. So a quickening is Holy Spirit induced, whereas anxiousness is fear induced. Fear induced. Okay. Okay. So Holy Spirit induced. God wanted me to kind of use an example of when I was having my son. Okay. So when I was getting ready to give birth to my son, my body began to shiver. Okay. I began to shiver uncontrollably. And it wasn't because I was necessarily cold. It was more so my adrenaline and my body preparing for a task. So my body was being induced into the preparation of what was to come. And the preparation of what was to come was I was about to give birth to something. Usually when the Lord is quickening you to do something, it has something to do with the birth of what he's birthing in you, what he's getting ready to do in you. Same thing with Elisha. Elisha was praying. He was getting ready for the birth of the manifestation of the word that he had given, that it was going to rain. So Elisha began to pray because he knew that the rain was coming. He was giving birth to the prophetic word that God had put inside of him concerning rain. So the Lord is saying that he's giving birth. A lot of you guys are in the season of giving birth, and every instruction counts. Okay. When the doctor says push, I push. When the doctor says stop, I stop. That was him giving birth. He was giving birth to the word that God had said that it was about to rain. So Elisha began to receive supernatural strength, just like your body, like when a woman's body is getting ready to give birth, she receives a super amazing type of strength to push that baby out. Okay. So God showed me that in a vision concerning Holy Spirit induced, whereas fear induced, the spirit of torment. Okay. And the example that he gave to me of this was when Saul and David, when David was playing the harp for Saul was fear induced. Okay. His actions was derived from fear, right? When he kept trying to kill David, and David was the only person that could bring him peace. David would play the harp for him in order to give him peace. But whenever David stopped playing that harp, Saul, because he was fear induced with the spirit of torment, he ran after David trying to kill him, right? His actions were not produced from the Spirit of God. It's been produced by a tormenting spirit of fear. So fear promotes anxiousness, confusion, all these things. And that also, the same thing happened with Elisha when Jezebel threatened him, right? He began to be impulsive. It's fear-based. It's fear-based, okay? And also a quickening. I'm going to actually post these notes so that you guys can have these notes on the cover so that you can look over these notes. Okay. I'm going to share these notes on the actual covering of this. A quickening promotes precise movement. Okay. A quickening promotes precise movement. Okay. So when the Holy Spirit quickens you, it's usually with an instruction. Okay, so when a quickening happens, it's an instruction. And I hope this is clear for you guys. So it says in 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 46, then the Lord gave special strength to Elisha. He tucked his cloak into his belt and ran ahead of Ahab's chariot all the way to the entrance of Jezreel. So Elisha, because of the quickening, he knew where he was going. Okay, Elisha knew exactly where he was going. When the Lord told me to move, he had told me the exact place on where I was going. He told me the exact place, and he began to show me the exact time. Like, not the exact time, but he showed me the exact month that I was moving. He spoke to me the month that I was supposed to move, and he spoke to me the exact place that I was moving to. So usually when a quickening happens, the Lord has already given you instruction on where to do, where to go. Okay. So there are instructions that was given out. There were instructions that were given out. And another bad example is anxiousness versus precise movement. Anxiousness promotes impulsiveness with no direction, or you become paralyzed without any movement. Okay. So that's what fear does. Elisha was paralyzed. When Jezebel threatened him, he crawled up and prepared himself. He said, Lord, kill me. He was prepared to die. He was stagnant. He was paralyzed with the spirit of fear. Okay. So that is the opposite of a precise movement. When you have that confidence that comes from that secret place, the prayer place that is induced by the Holy Spirit, it produces fruit. It produces movement. Another example of this is when I was getting ready to give birth to my son, my body knew exactly what it was doing. Okay. My body knew exactly what it was doing. So I automatically knew that my body was preparing to give birth. Okay, because all the blood was rushing down to my lower extremities, preparing to give birth, versus my head. Why would the blood run all the way up to my head? I'm not giving birth in my brain. No, I'm giving birth in my lower extremities. Okay, so it wouldn't make any sense for the blood to rush to my head versus rushing to the area where I have to give birth. Okay, so my body knew precisely what was getting ready to happen. My body began to show signs of giving birth. Okay, because my body knew it was preparing for birth. So it was precise what my body began to prepare for. Precise.